The project was to develop spaces, both physical and virtual, that would allow students and faculty from across the university to engage in thinking through making.
We got into it, I think, through our collaborative teaching in the Harvard Architecture Studies undergraduate track, which is in its 5th year now at Harvard. So new, but there's an increasing interest from students at the college to study through physical making and visual output. So we are interested in finding ways to support that, but also to link that work to things going on more broadly across Harvard University's campus. So that was our real agenda, is to be able to sort of bolster and support and connect this already ongoing project to other initiatives that are similar across the university.
Yeah, and we had noticed that students and faculty were engaged in making projects. They were actually physically producing things for their other courses, and we were interested in trying to figure out how to foster real conversation about the objects that they were making. So not just thinking about the technical skills, but actually the discourse that surrounds producing objects as a mode of research and of knowledge production.
Yeah. This space is among the first to address student academic pursuits in terms of thinking through making, and our grant helps support the kind of outfitting of that space through technical means for these students. We also, through the support of the grant, created a website to be able to disseminate and create a kind of visual means of analysis of what the students are making. So the website really features student work made through processes of physical modeling or drawing that is iterative and also evolutionary, like it changes as you study different versions and permutations of an idea. And the website really enables both students and faculty across the university to sort of look at what this process produced and hopefully affects sort of how we start thinking about adjustments to the pedagogy of the two studios related to all of that feedback and reception.
Yeah, and I think that's really important because we don't think of this just as like the physical making space, but really that virtual discursive space is really a part of the project, and that's really important for us. And for us, that was a big part of what we are interested in developing. So not just a maker space where students could come and do independent projects, but really a space that was both physical and sort of intellectual for them to be able to talk through architectural discourse what objects they were producing meant, in a sense. Become architects, they are already sort of embedded in architectural culture. They have technical skills that allow them to produce objects that are recognizable as architecture. The students that come into architecture studies and the students that are interested in our making space, by contrast, are coming from a really wide range of disciplinary backgrounds. So we have people from cellular biology, from classics, from engineering, from applied math, and they don't really have preconceptions of what architecture or what architectural objects are, which is really exciting because they have this whole new lens with which to look at the work. It's definitely challenging because it means that we have to sort of bring everyone up to speed in terms of some technical skills and in terms of the sort of language that we use to talk about architecture and the way that we talk about architectural objects. But for us, it's been really exciting to see the sort of multiplicity of ideas and opinions that comes out of this kind of interdisciplinary collaborative space. And that's where the interdisciplinary part of our project, even though it's definitely in architecture, we think about it as sort of architecture with broad interdisciplinary reach.
Yeah. It's been interesting to craft a website that also starts to select and bring together examples of student work produced in the two studios, representative of students interested in this track of coursework coming from very different disciplines. So it's also a way of making visual and legible through means of website representation, a digital means of communication to the university, what these different disciplines threaded through architecture as a kind of combination end up producing. In addition, it's been wonderful working with Lisa on this grant because even though we come at this topic from two different studios, addressing it together, how interdisciplinary critical thinking can work through making spaces, has, I think, refined even exactly how each of the two studios address this topic
definitely.
and then complement each other. So it's been super helpful also in terms of shaping and refining the focus of our respective classes. And I think that has a much further reach going forward than just the duration of this grant, which is really lovely to have as a kind of outcome. I think perhaps what's come out of this, though maybe not matching one-to-one what we had anticipated to be the outcomes, is probably more productive and
I think so too, for sure.
actually more focused in many ways.
Yeah.
To feed the college and the kind of development of this course of study moving forward. So I think to be flexible is an important piece of advice that I don't know that we maybe had foreshadowed or anticipated quite as much.
I mean, I think having a visible platform for the work that we're doing is an immediate mark of success. We're attracting more students to the studios and sort of generating more interest in architecture studies. But I think just having that visibility for me is one marker and an important one of the success of the project.
I agree. I think the visibility with the website, I would imagine, will have a kind of lasting and longer duration effect and be a kind of mode of measuring success that we don't really have all the data on quite yet.
I mean, part of the idea of this project is that it doesn't end now, but that we've set up a framework to be able to continue to showcase work, to continue this conversation. And that was part of what we had imagined all along, was that this was sort of like the kindling for an ongoing, longer-term conversation, and that we now have a pretty robust framework for making sure that people can become engaged when they want to.
And also that framework can evolve. So if initiatives in other departments became appeared or sort of found resonance with things going on in the studios, or the studios started to partner with other faculty, that this website would enable us a way to describe the evolution of this series of studios available to the students over the life of the program.
I mean, this is like the kind of thing that I feel like maybe in the past we'd have to do secretly. Like, what are some innovative ways of teaching that now it feels exciting that actually is like fully acknowledged as being valuable in terms of like creative thinking in the classroom that has real intellectual weight. And that doesn't have to be something that sort of flies below the radar anymore.